Detweilers is committed to providing a work environment in which all individuals are treated with respect and dignity. As employers, it is our intention to create a fun but professional atmosphere that promotes equal employment opportunities and prohibits unlawful and discriminatory practices, including harassment. We expect all relationships among coworkers to remain friendly but businesslike and free of bias, prejudice, and harassment. As partners in our company, you are essential to helping us achieve this goal. Working on the front lines, it is vital that you know how to recognize harassment and how to respond to and prevent it. This training will provide you with that knowledge. In this presentation, we will cover number 1, federal discrimination laws and their basic provisions, 2, what is discrimination, 3, what is harassment, 4, why it is crucial to prevent harassment in our workplace, 5, retaliation, 6, our policy and procedures on discrimination and harassment, and number 7, your responsibilities. Title VII, the ADA, and the ADEA are federal laws that protect employees from discrimination, harassment, and retaliation. These laws prohibit employers from discriminating in employment based on race, color, religion, sex, including gender identity, pregnancy, and sexual orientation, national origin, disability, age, or genetic information. These federal laws help create a workplace where employees are treated with respect and dignity. Title VII, the ADA, and the ADEA prohibit discrimination in all aspects of pre-hire and the employment relationship, including recruiting, interviewing, hiring, promotions, demotions, job transfers, compensation, training, discipline, benefits eligibility, and termination or dismissal. Discrimination is defined as any policy or action taken that results in an unfair disadvantage to an individual or group of individuals who are considered part of a protected class. It is illegal to discriminate against a job applicant or an employee because of the person's race, color, religion, sex, including pregnancy, gender identity, and sexual orientation, national origin, age, disability, or genetic information. Discrimination is illegal, it is costly, and it is disrespectful. According to the EEOC, or the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, harassment is a form of employment discrimination that violates Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the ADA, and the ADEA. Harassment is defined as unwelcome conduct that is based on race, color, religion, sex, including pregnancy, national origin, age, disability, or genetic information. The EEOC defines sexual harassment as unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, and other verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature that affects an individual's employment, unreasonably interferes with his or her work performance, or creates an intimidating, hostile, or offensive work environment. Traditionally, we may think of sexual harassment as occurring between a man and a woman, but sexual harassment can be man-woman, man-man, woman-man, or woman-woman. The harassment can be physical, such as touching or making obscene gestures, or it can be verbal and include things such as making inappropriate comments, jokes, or sharing dirty selfies. There are two types of sexual harassment: quid pro quo harassment and hostile work environment. In Latin, quid pro quo literally means this for that. So this type of harassment occurs when someone in a managerial position harasses a subordinate. Hostile work environment harassment usually occurs between coworkers of the same level, meaning it's not from an associate's direct supervisor. This type of harassment interferes with an employee's work performance or creates an intimidating, hostile, abusive, or offensive work environment. Quid pro quo harassment either creates a tangible employment action against the victim or involves monetary loss or a change in job. For example, a manager threatens that he won't give Mary a raise if she refuses to go out with him. Another example of a tangible employment action could be if a manager said, "No, you can't take time off next week unless you go out to dinner with me tonight." It's almost like a bribe. Hostile work environment harassment is unwelcome conduct in the workplace that interferes with an employee's work performance or creates an intimidating, hostile, abusive, or offensive work environment. An example is Mike intentionally brushing against Sally every time he walks past, or a coworker smacking your butt every time you're alone in the produce cooler. And just as a side note, we do have cameras throughout the stores, so please don't do this. Sexual flirtation, innuendo, or vulgar language that is merely trivial or annoying doesn't necessarily create a hostile working environment. However, as an employer, we do have a right to discipline for this type of behavior if it's unwanted and doesn't stop. Remember, something that's not offensive to one employee could be interpreted very differently by another. Especially since we have such a diverse workforce here at Detweilers, we have all different kinds of cultures working together. This is something to be very mindful of. Sexual harassment can include physical conduct such as unwanted massaging, assault, and impeding or blocking movements. It can be visual conduct, including leering, making sexual gestures, displaying sexually or suggestive objects, such as pictures or cartoons. And it can also include explicit or suggestive items that are emailed, texted, or electronically provided. For example, Jill likes to text her coworkers explicit jokes and pictures. Sexual harassment can be committed by anyone, including employees at all levels, customers, or vendors. It can include members of the same sex or opposite sex. It can be done to a single individual or a group of individuals. Bystanders or witnesses can also be considered victims if the treatment witnessed impacted them deeply. And a special side note for managers, even if sexual harassment was instigated from outside customers or vendors, we as an employer may still be held liable for this if we don't take action to stop it. Customers, vendors, or consultants who come onto our premises could engage in behaviors that make our employees uncomfortable, and we could still be held liable for this. Detweilers operates on the golden rule, treat others as you would want to be treated. Therefore, sexual harassment harms all of us and goes directly against our core values of treating employees with respect and dignity. From a legal perspective, we need to remain compliant with Title VII of the Civil Rights Act and the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Engaging in or not reporting sexual harassment is also in direct conflict with our values. It affects our brand and reputation as an employer. Retaliation is an adverse action taken against an employee because he or she complained of harassment or discrimination. Adverse action includes demotion, discipline, termination, salary reduction, negative performance appraisals, or changes in job duties. Equal employment opportunity laws prohibit punishing employees for asserting their rights to be free from employment discrimination, including harassment. Anti-discrimination laws prohibit employers from taking adverse action against employees for asserting their rights. If you are ever a victim of harassment of any kind, please bring it forward to your department manager, store manager, or human resources department immediately. You will not be retaliated against in any way, shape, or form. As employers, it is our responsibility that you feel safe coming to work, but sometimes in order to do this, we need to hear from you directly. Detweilers has a zero-tolerance harassment policy. What does this mean? This means that we do not tolerate harassment by or towards job applicants, employees, customers, guests, or any third party. Any form of harassment is a violation of our policy and will be treated as a disciplinary matter. While it is not easy to define exactly what harassment is, it includes slurs, jokes, and any other uninvited verbal, graphic, or physical conduct by one individual to another. Harassment of any kind will not be tolerated and may be grounds for immediate termination. If an employee believes someone has violated this policy, whether or not that person is a coworker or a superior, the employee should bring the matter to the immediate attention of their store manager, or, if this is not appropriate, to the attention of human resources. Detweilers will promptly investigate the facts and circumstances of any claim of harassment. Any manager, assistant manager, or supervisor who is made aware of an allegation of harassment is required to immediately report the issue to human resources. To the extent possible, Detweilers will keep the complainant's concerns confidential. Upon completion of the investigation, Detweilers will take corrective measures against any person who has engaged in harassment in violation of our policy. Measures may include, but are not limited to, counseling, suspension, or immediate dismissal. Anyone, regardless of their position or title, whom Detweilers determines has engaged in conduct that violates this policy will be subject to disciplinary action up to and including termination. Detweilers prohibits any form of discipline or retaliation for reporting incidents of unlawful harassment. It is important to prevent sexual harassment in our workplace because it harms all of us, not just financially, but also in regards to our reputation amongst our staff, our brand, and our reputation in the community. It conflicts with our core value that all employees are treated with respect and dignity. Harassment and retaliating against an employee who complains of harassment are illegal under federal and state law. Your responsibilities as employees include, number 1, complying with our harassment policy and procedures, and number 2, immediately reporting any complaints you receive or incidents you witness to Human Resources. If you have any questions in regards to the policies outlined in this presentation, please direct them to your store manager or your Human Resources team.